The regular meeting for the Putnam County School District is now in session. We'll have our Pledge of Allegiance by Miss Sandy Gilliard and our invocation by James Cox, Worship and Youth Leader at South Putnam Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for another beautiful day, another day to work, be productive, and to build relationships. I thank you for each and every single person in this room, that they have answered the important calling to oversee the education of the younger generation. I pray that you fill them with strength to fulfill the task before them. I pray that this meeting is productive, that any disagreement is met with peace, and every decision is brought to with complete wisdom. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
He looks like a little boy.
We're just getting older.
We'll now have our
Maybe that's it. Maybe
presentations.
not.
Our
Don't see
first
like
one
that.
is the recognition of Charles Overturf by Dr. Sarncy.
Charles?
First of all, this is a great crowd, and I looked around, and half the audience is my Kiwanis Club. And I wasn't able to make it yet, and I figured y'all just came to get on to me or something because I wasn't there today. But it's good to see y'all. It's good to see everybody in the audience. And first of all, before I present anything, I'm going to ask Danny Hood to come up here and join me. And want Danny to talk a little bit about a program that the Azalea City Kiwanis started. And I'll let him tell you what year and what the program is, and then you'll see what the presentation is about. So, Danny?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today to recognize the Kiwanians and the terrific kids program, which has done so much good in the county over the years. When the superintendent invited me to be here, the first thing that came to mind was, how long has it been since this began? So I had to actually go look at the plaque they give the outgoing presidents, and it was my year was 1994, so 28 years.
Wow.
That program has been around. It was our River City Kiwanis Club that I was president of that year. We were many of us had come from the Thursday noon club to have a breakfast club for business schedules and so forth. So we were new, and we were active, and we were looking obviously for ways to become involved in the community and to particularly to things that we could do to support our youth. Mm-hmm. So I became aware of the Terrific Kids program actually through the Keystone Heights Kiwanis Club, and made contact with a couple of the guys there that were involved with the program, and learned the nuts and bolts of it. Saw that it was something that I felt we should become involved in. Took it to our board. Of course, we endorsed it, and off we went. We started small at Mosley, but through the hard work of Charles and the Kiwanis Club over the years, it's obviously grown to what it is today. And I think all you have to do is look around when you drive around town and see all of the Terrific Kid bumper stickers to understand the success of it. So congratulations to Charles and all you Kiwanians for the great work they've done.
Well, thank you. And I know you started it, and, getting it started is one thing, but Charles took the reins, and I think 27 and a half years ago, and I'm going to let Charles talk about it in just a minute, but I want you to stay up here because I want to take a photo of both of y'all. But let me read something here, and then I'm going to ask Charles to come up. It says, and this is on behalf of the Putnam County School District, it says, "Shaping the future. In honor of continued support, we celebrate Charles L. Overturf III for 28 years of service and dedication to the Azalea City Kiwanis Terrific Kid program in shaping the future of over 20,000 students in Putnam County, Florida, February 2022. Let's give him a round of applause. And Charles, come on up. Congratulations. Very well deserved. Will you come up and say a few words and maybe talk about what happened to the streak? Tell me about the streak.
Yeah. As we said, Danny was the one, and I've always tried to make sure and give him the credit for it because he was our president and came up with the idea. And he asked me to join. And that first year, we were just at Mosley. Now it was
just out of high school then.
yeah, right.
Yeah, he was pitching on the baseball team.
Back then, we were, I guess it was 6 weeks grading period, so we decided to do that. So I think we did 6 at the Mosley campus. And then, unfortunately, due to Danny's workload, he ended up having to leave. And so he said, hey, why don't you take over? Well, my oldest one and Steve's oldest one was just getting ready to start kindergarten at Kelly Smith. And I said, if we're going to do this, if I'm going to be in charge of it, then we're going to start it at Kelly Smith. So we did that year, and little by little we started adding other schools to it. And I'm proud to say right now that every single elementary school in Putnam County has it, either our club or the club in Keystone. And we even do the charter schools. And at one time, even Pinal had reached out to us, and we tried to work it out to help them out, but it didn't work. But so some of the years, there have been a couple of years where I've done 40, 42 is the most we've ever done. Usually they do it once every grading period now, so it's 4 times a year. There's a couple of schools that E.H. Miller used to do it every month, and the charter school only did 3 because they didn't want to really interfere with the end of the year thing. So we always leave it up to the principal and the staff there to make sure, and we try to just fall in and do what we need to do to, help it be successful. As Rick said, I've tried. I didn't keep good records back then. I should have probably, but just estimating, we're I'm pretty sure over 20,000 students. We may be getting closer to the middle of between 20 and 25, and about 500 to 600 actual ceremonies over the 28 years. As he said, I had really been cognizant of the fact that I had never missed. And I'm sitting here the other morning at the intersection and minding my own business, and I've got a school that's 4 miles away, and they start at 9 o'clock, and it's 8:30, and I'm headed there, and all of a sudden I'm watching this wreck happen in front of me, and I'm seeing this poor young man swerve to try to miss the guy that pulls in front of him. And when they hit, of course, they come straight and just tear the front end of the car off. And I'm sitting there, it just hits me. It's like, oh my word, I'm not going to be able to get away from this in 20 minutes. So I called my good friend Chris there, and I said, "Are you going?" And he said, "Yeah, why?" And I said, "I'm not going to make it." I said, "It's a shame."
Ever.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how it ended. But I said, you know what? It's all about the kids. That's what we're all here for, is to try to encourage them, whether it's our teachers or our principal or our staffs or whatever, and we're just a part of it. So in some ways, it's a little bit of a relief to think that I don't have to quite worry about it as much. I got
No excuse.
Lord willing, I've got a grandson coming up here in about 2 months that's going to be born, and the other side of the family is the kind that they are there automatically. And so when my granddaughter was born in Tampa back in May of 2 years ago, I didn't leave Tampa till 1:30 or 1:45 in the morning to get back to an 8:30 one at Kelly Smith. So in some ways it's a relief that part's over. But anyway, I told the club, I said, "Guys, I feel like I let you down," because I said I was hoping that at some point, I thought my brother might come take me out on a stretcher, and that might be the way that my streak ended, but it didn't.
Better you than me.
I do want to thank Dr. Malash was the superintendent at the time when Danny got this started. And then I want to recognize David Buckles, because he was the one that voted or allowed the program to go online where we have it, where the people can see. And boy, did it really come into effect when COVID hit, because I was shocked at how many people would say, "We saw you on TV," grandparents, great-grandparents. Even some of the kids would look and see who their fellow students were getting nominated and that kind of thing. So You know, it's been a combination of a lot of people that have helped my club, especially. Ms. Gullett is the one that she and her husband give us all of the certificates. They print them, and then instead of us having to buy them, that we give to the students. So they've filled a big role. And of course, then a lot of the guys that are sitting right here are some of the ones that are good to come and join us. The last thing I'm going to say is, Rick, if you don't mind, one of the most enjoyable parts of it is when you're standing up and you're watching the reactions of the parents. Amen. And it's just priceless, you know, because we see sometimes we have it where unfortunately sometimes kids get in trouble and they make the paper for stuff like that, but you know that we don't ever see much about this part of it, and yet we've got a pile of great kids in this school system. And one of the things that has always gotten me is unfortunately we've lost a couple of those kids over the years, and to see that the parents thought enough that they would put that picture of their child getting a Terrific Kid Award in their memorial video, it just shows that there's things that we all do that, you know, we don't ever know how it touches other people. So again, on behalf of the club members, I say thank you.
And you guys, when you came up with "I'm a proud grandparent," was one of the best stickers you ever did, because I've had a lot of fun with those.
Well, you know, as he said, and those of us that are in political stuff
been around.
say, I tell you what, you look at all those bumper stickers and you think, man, I wish I had half of those that were voting. You know, so it makes a difference because they're proud of that with what their kids or grandkids are doing. So again,
Could I ask you and Danny to stand up here and let's get photos? And
Sure.
then I'm gonna ask our Kiwanis Club to come stand up here with Charles and Danny. I think that's appropriate because it is a Kiwanis Club activity. So could we get y'all's picture first? Sure. Yeah. Y'all go ahead and stand out front. Danny, come on.
It's kind of fun to see Danny get his picture taken for a change. He took so many for so many years.
I'll just stand here. You go. You will start.
That's true.
Hey, could I get the Kiwanis Club to come up? Yeah. Yes, we do. I ought to charge them $1 or something.
We've already paid those today.
Congratulations, Charles.
You come on.
Yes.
Charles, get up front. Can you get everybody?
Y'all scoot for me just a little bit, I can't, yep, she's right there.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Charles.
Very nice.
And as they're leaving, I just want to say one more thing. I remember one thing about Charles's streak. Charles, you remember several years ago, I believe you actually missed your son's college baseball game, did you not? To make sure you covered a Terrific Kid? Or there was one scheduled or something. I don't know if you actually missed. Uh-oh. Maybe it got rained out, so never mind. Sorry. Well, just the thought of it was important. So thank you again, Charles. Second presentation I want to make is many of you have heard of, or if you haven't, Kerry E. Farrell was the superintendent of the Putnam County School District in the 1960s. And I think I've talked about him before at a board meeting. But as you know, he was a very courageous superintendent. He was here during the time of desegregation and actually led our school district through voluntary desegregation, which is really quite impressive at that time because many of our neighboring districts who chose not to desegregate were forced to by court mandate. So Putnam County, I'm proud to say, did that during a very tumultuous time. Kerry Farrell, who was the superintendent at that time, led that effort, suffered a lot of personal pain, if you will. I mean, I've talked to him before. His tires are flattened. He received many threatening phone calls. It's just really a tough time to be in his office at that time. But since that time, he went on to DOE. He left here, went to DOE, and then served in other capacities. And actually, I met him at the dedication of Mr. Thomas's the facility on Hudson Avenue. First time I met him, and that was the last time I saw him. And I've talked to him some since then. But tragically, we found out that he passed away last month. And he was living in Sanford. His wife had preceded him in passing away. And anyway, it really struck me a lot because he and I had some conversations that were very meaningful to me. So I thought it was very important for us today just to pay tribute to Carrie Farrell. And I'm going to read a resolution that we've drafted, and we'll ask our board to approve later in the agenda. But it says, be it hereby resolved that the District School Board of Putnam County wishes to express appreciation to Carrie E. Farrell for his service to the Putnam County School District. Be it hereby further resolved that the District School Board of Putnam County honors the loyalty and dedication to the duty exhibited by Carrie E. Farrell during his tenure as an educator and superintendent for the Putnam County School District. Be it hereby further resolved that Carrie E. Farrell's tireless efforts to engage the entire community to desegregate our schools set a high standard for communication and action during times of dramatic change. Be it hereby further resolved that Carrie E. Farrell's leadership during the years of desegregating schools continues to serve as an inspiration to our school leaders to be bold and intentional when facing challenges that impact the education of our children. Be it hereby further resolved that the District School Board of Putnam County honors Carrie E. Farrell for his leadership and innovative contributions to the students, families, and community members of Putnam County, Florida. Adopted by the District School Board of Putnam County, Florida, in official session on February the 15th, 2022. And it will be signed by all the board members and myself. And we will present this, upon approval, present this plaque to his family, after this meeting. And so anyway, I would, if any board members, and I know a couple board members here probably knew Mr. Farrell pretty well, but if anybody has a comment, I think it would be very fitting at this time. Madam Chair, if that's okay with you.
That's wonderful.
I would just like
Jane,
to
go
say,
first.
I would just like to say that he was my father's assistant superintendent and was then appointed when Daddy resigned from school board 2 years before the end of his term. And then Carrie ran and won. And his wife taught at Palatka High School in the business department. She was lovely, just like he was. Miss Libby. And they were just wonderful people.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
They just, you can't think of one without the other.
Right.
I mean, but if you didn't know Jane's dad, Mr. Thomas, you knew Mr. Farrell. Mm-hmm. And then, everything kind of, I guess back in those days, it was akin to segregation. You go into integration became much like a COVID scare. People really didn't know what to expect. And fortunately, people like Mr. Thomas and the transition to Carrie Farrell made it to where it was more palatable to the young children that were selected to come over and integrate schools. And it was a tough time. I felt those kids were the real heroes through integration because they had to prove themselves in ways that they should not have had to prove themselves.
Absolutely.
But Mr. Farrell it didn't matter what end of the education spectrum it was. He knew a little bit about everything, and he certainly had a grip on the pulse of Putnam County. And it would not have been uncommon for him to have received death threats and everything else during that time. Yeah. But he was one heck of a man, and even back during my tenure as superintendent, he came at the request of the Florida School Board Association and did a presentation on the Sunshine Law and things like that. He was always helpful at districts all over the state. Mm-hmm. But he's certainly well done, our good and faithful servant. He's been a fine man.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all, and again, we'll have that on the, is it emergency item we added?
Yes.
Okay, and it'll be on the agenda later on, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next presentation will be for the principal and assistant principal and district employees of the year by Ms. Tanya Whitehurst.
Did we add that?
I see it.
Good afternoon. As you know, last month, HR, we did the big, huge celebration that we get to put on every year and honor many of our district employees. And we wanted to take the opportunity to present them at this board meeting who our district winners were. And most of these will be going to the state for a state level opportunity to be a state representative. So at this time, I would like to ask our Principal of the Year to come forward, Mr. Tim Adams.
Woo-hoo.
And I'm not going to read everything that was said about him, but I do just want to say his dedication, his compassion for people, and his deep desire for students to be successful has truly been at the core of him being able to energize and lead a group of people to make changes that not only impacts the students and community of Crescent City, but also of Putnam County. His transformational leadership he has been able to lead with grace and compassion through some really hard and difficult days at Crescent City this year, and we are so appreciative of everything he does to serve our community and our schools. Just remain up there. Our Assistant Principal of the Year is from Kelly Smith Elementary School, Miss Kathy Oyster. And when someone meets Kathy, her deep dedication, work ethic, her drive, and her love for the students in school quickly comes to the surface. She has a very positive rapport with students, faculty, staff, parents, and the community, and that has created relationships between the school and parents that has truly never been established before. One of her biggest assets is her willingness to truly do whatever tasks needs to be done, and honestly, she is the person she is because of her 7th grade teachers, who several are in here.
And her neighbor.
Oh, okay, sorry. So thank you for all that you do for us.
Did you want any stories about Kathy?
No, we don't need any stories.
All right, I won't tell anything.
Our department-based support-related employee of the year is Miss Marta Author from Transportation West. And I just want to just kind of talk a couple of different things that really stood out to the judges that they shared with us that really wasn't part of any of her packet. It was information that she shared during the interview. It was all about how she creates positive relationships and believes in celebrating each and every student. And, you know, a lot of times we see that happening in the classroom, but she does it on the bus. And that is so important. She's the first person that they see and the last person that they see every day. And she wants to know what their report card grades are. She instills accountability in them and responsibility. And one of the things that is really touching to the judges, and it really impacted me, is she keeps a hair kit on the bus so that for those girls whose dads just don't know how to braid, they'll come to her and ask her to braid their hair and make sure their hair is fixed. And that's just the perfect way to start a day for some of our students who need that. So thank you for all that you do, Miss Marta. And our school-based, school-related employee of the year is Miss Scarlett Williams from James A. Long. And Miss Williams has a gift of connection and displays a genuine love and compassion for her students, her school, her community. She is very upbeat, and several of her letters and the judges all talked about her bubbly personality, which it just exudes joy and love, and she is always willing to go above and beyond at any given time. Thank you. And then our teacher of the year for this year is Miss Asia Kellner from Mosley Elementary School. Asia is a continuous learner and is always willing to share her practices and ideas with her peers. She runs a total student-centered classroom while exhibiting patience and knowledge of where each of the students are at any given time by always monitoring, challenging them, and celebrating their learning. Her classroom is a safe space that allows students to have a voice and provides an environment where students encourage, respect, and challenge each other. Thank you. So as you can see, we are very well represented with Putnam County with these employees, and we are just so appreciative of your dedication, your hard work, and all that you do for each and every one of our students and parents and community members each and every day.
I got a question before they sit down. Asia, weren't you a newspaper reporter?
When I started school board, she was our,
And see, we were able, we were able to lead her away from the daily news.
I was gonna say that. I'm glad you brought it up.
That wonderful. I
That's
I
right.
remember her really putting us under the hot spotlight all the time.
Sarah Jean recruited her, right?
Yeah, and then
She did. We had conversations
our
and-
transportation representative, I think, of Joe Wells out there. Gator DeLoach keeps a thing to curl Joe's hair all the time in case Joe doesn't curl it on the way to work. I couldn't help that. You guys are absolutely wonderful.
Now,
Because you know me, I'm on social media and I voice my opinion
Yes,
very
ma'am.
strong, but always positively. And I thank you for when you add in your comments to the different things that I post, because they're my kids, they're my babies.
They are
I
our
keep what's
babies.
going on in that neighborhood. If I see something strange, I'm gonna report it. If
I-
you know,
I got a phone call this morning from Walker Drive that there was a kid walking two dogs out in the woods and I needed to come get them and take them to school. Be right on it. And you're the same way. If our bus drivers, not to take away from anybody's responsibility in what you do up here, because you all are absolutely excellent in your field. But our bus drivers, they're the first ones to see those kids in the
That's
morning,
right.
the last one in the afternoon, and they can tell you if something's out of place in the community. And thank goodness they
True.
work closely to find out what's going on.
that's right.
So thank
besides driving that big old machine,
you, each of you,
lots
thank
of
you,
noise.
thank you from the bottom of my
And I
heart.
also want to say, Scarlett, I believe you're working on finishing your degree so she can be a certified teacher. So who knows? In a few years, you could be our teacher of the year. So, all right. Superintendent and Madam Chairman, would you like to come down and let's get a picture?
I'm the shortest, so.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will have a presentation by Wendy Hansford, Take Stock in Children.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Wendy Hansford, and I am the College Success Coach here in Putnam County for our Take Stock in Children program. Goodwill Industries of North Florida is a lead agency for our local program and has launched the revitalization of the scholarship program in Putnam County. The mission of Take Stock in Children has been in operation for over 27 years and is funded by the Florida Department of Education. Take Stock in Children provides a unique opportunity for low-income students, many from minority families, to escape the cycle of poverty through purposeful education. We offer our students scholarships, volunteer mentors, in-school support, instilling in them a hope for a bright future. Our comprehensive services start in 6th grade, continue through high school, and includes the students' transition into college. Who can apply to be part of the Take Stock in Children program? Students who are in a Putnam County school in grades 6 through 9, they must have a 2.0 minimum GPA. They must meet financial eligibility requirements as low income, as told to us by the Florida Prepaid Association. They must meet with a mentor regularly. They must remain drug, alcohol, and crime free, maintain good attendance and behavior, and graduate from a Putnam County Public High School with a standard diploma. So if they are ESE but will graduate with a standard diploma, they are more than welcome to apply to be in the program. So Take Stock has what we call a successful formula. The students apply, and those who come into the program are required to sign what we call a performance contract with their parent. That means that they understand that they have to remain free from alcohol, drugs, and crime, that they must maintain a 2.0 GPA, and graduate from a Putnam County high school. Once they have completed that contract, they are fully in our program. And from that point on, they receive benefits of a college success coach, which is my current role. And I'm there and in every high school 1 day a week to ensure that they're staying on track academically, their attendance isn't declining, and that if there are any behavioral concerns, that's brought to my attention. That way, the sooner we can intervene and provide remediation or any other resources that they need, the less likely they are to continue that decline. So we're trying to get them at the beginning of any issues they may be having. We also work closely with their families. Not only do we ensure that the family understands their report card and the progress they're making, but also we have families who go through difficult situations, being low income and at-risk students. So we can sometimes help them go through situations that are difficult, and they trust us to let us know. I had a mother call me 2 months ago to tell me there was an issue involving their family, and it's taken a toll on their son who's in the program. And we were able to make sure that we were able to provide additional assistance to the mom and the family going through that, but we're also able to follow up with the student in school to make sure that they have anything that they need during school to help them overcome this barrier that they're going through at this point in their lives. We also recruit mentors. So the mentor is a volunteer mentor who meets with the student once a week at the school. They are there just to encourage and guide and support these children, because our low-income at-risk students are the highest group of students who do not graduate. So if we can make sure that we're there to support them in college coaching, support the family, and have a mentor there to support the child, they're really going to make a difference and stay on that track to high school graduation. We also work closely with the schools, with the teachers, with the counselors, with the administration, to make sure that if our students need mental health, if they need tutoring, anything that they need, that we're working collaboratively to make sure that these students are staying on track. What do they receive at graduation? At high school graduation, receiving a standard diploma, they will receive a 60 credit hour tuition scholarship, which is equivalent of 2 years, and they can use that at any Florida technical school, college, or university. So that is what they get for working hard. So how do our Take Stock kids compare to kids across the state? 97% of our Take Stock students will graduate high school, compared to only 80% of at-risk kids with no intervention or mentoring. 88% of our students will enroll immediately in a college or technical program. Again, 21% of at-risk kids with no support. That's a small amount to think that we have all these at-risk kids, and if they're not in a program like Take Stock, chances are they're not enrolling in a post-secondary education. Once our children get into college, they have a 70% success rate in college and receive their diploma or certificate program, compared to only 27% of the general at-risk population of their peers. So we have very high standards of what we want and what we work for with our students, because this is the outcome. We take our low-income at-risk students, we mentor them, we coach them, we work with their families, we work with the schools, and this is a result. We can help in the cycle of poverty by educating these kids and encouraging them to go on and obtain a degree. So we have some very exciting news. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Take Stock in Children at all. It used to be here with communities and schools, but as of last May, we only had 3 students. I'm happy to say in 7 months, we worked really hard, and Mr. Hedstrom was a big part of this, getting this program going again. We added 46 kids in 7 months. So we have 49 Take Stock students in Putnam schools who will be graduating with a 2-year 60 credit hour scholarship. So this year we have one, and I'm going to share some things about her in a minute. But what excites me the most is in 10th grade and 2 years from now, we will have 15 kids graduating with 2-year scholarships. So we are hoping to continue this program. We are in all 4 of the high schools. We also started this year for the first time bringing in 6th graders. So we have 3 6th graders at Aquila Elementary School who next year will transition to either QI or Interlochen Junior Senior. So that is our goal is, you know, the earlier we can get them in, the more mentoring and support we can provide. So we are looking to grow the numbers, but in order to do that, we do need volunteer mentors because that is a requirement of the program. We can't bring in a student unless we have a volunteer mentor to work with that student. So a mentor is someone who meets with the students. We prefer once a week, so it can be, continuous. A student knows that they have someone to support them there every week. If not, we need a minimum of 15 sessions per school year, and that's 30 minutes minimum per session. So the minimum commitment is 7.5 hours a year. So if anyone thinks that they're interested in doing that, please reach out to me because we can't grow the numbers without mentors. So currently we have 26 mentors. Some of them do mentor more than one student. So right now our mentors include assistant principals, counselors, district staff, teachers, data clerks, NEFAC, community members, and school board members. So we've been very fortunate to get this up and running very quickly and being able to add those new students with the blessing of all of those mentors coming on board. So a big thank you to them. So as we continue to grow, I'm hoping to work with civic and educational organizations locally to try and recruit additional mentors, as well as individual community members. So that is our plan, so we can work toward bringing in additional students. So what does a Take Stock in Children senior look like? So this is Sydney Williams. Some of you may have seen an article about her in the Palatka Daily News. Sydney came on board 4 years ago when she was in middle school at QI. She decided to transfer to her home school of Interlochen because she wanted to focus on dual enrollment. So Sydney is currently a senior and a full-time dual enrollment student at Santa Fe College. She commutes there every day on her own. Did I mention she's 16? She's graduating a year early. And so she has a 4.4 GPA, plays varsity soccer, volleyball, and weightlifting, volunteers with Aquila Elementary School and SAFE. And so this is what we work towards. We work toward getting the children as much as they can out of their high school years and preparing them financially to not have to go into debt while they're in college. So they receive Take Stock in Children. She's also going to receive Bright Futures. She was one of 7 students in the state of Florida to receive the Leaders for Life Fellowship, which is 4 years of professional development in college, as well as $10,000 a year for non-tuition related expenses at a university. For dorm, food plan, books, parking pass, whatever she needs, up to $10,000. So we were very proud of her. She's also recently been selected by Goodwill Industries of North Florida as one of 2 recipients to receive this year's Striving to Succeed Award, and she will receive that in May.
Wow.
So this is what we work for. You know, we have high expectations for all of our kids, and they know that, but they have to put in the work too. We all put in the work, but you know, a lot of it's on them, and we are very proud of her. She is planning to go to FSU and do a dual degree for chemistry and criminal justice. And the best thing about her, if you've read any of the articles, is she wants to come back to Putnam. She's not one of those who says, I want to get out of Putnam. No, she wants to learn what she can and bring those back to Putnam. And that, to me, speaks volumes of her and her character and her dedication to this community. So this is what we look for in our students, and this is what we want our low-income at-risk kids to realize. They can achieve things that they think they can't. And Sydney didn't believe in herself enough as we were going through the Leaders for Life application process. She kept telling her mom, I'm never going to win. And it's just, she didn't believe in herself enough to realize how special and how accomplished she was at only 16. So, you know, with Take Stock, our big thing, and if you don't take anything else away from this, take away, our motto is we change the conversation from if I go to college to when I go to college. Because a lot of these kids think that they can't go, that there's no way they can ever go to college. But it's not if, it's when. And for Sydney, her when will be in August. She gets to go to college. So we are just very proud of everything that Take Stock in Children has been able to accomplish and hope we can accomplish in the future. We do have some resources. If anybody would like the links, I'm more than happy to share them. But the Florida Department of Education, we are listed as one of their mentoring initiatives. Florida Prepaid, our scholarships are under Project STARS. And we also have our statewide website at takestockandchildren.org. Okay. And thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I just think it's a fabulous program, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Thank you.
I'm
Good.
familiar with, over the years, Take Stock in Children, and it seemed like years ago we ran it through the Chamber of Commerce to some degree, and then it's anytime you've got these children, young people, not just locally in town, but in the outreaching areas, like the child that told you, or they didn't think they'd ever go anywhere. I mean, it's just a wonderful option. So
It
thank
is.
you for what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you all very much. Have a great evening. Yes.
What you think, Wendy, she's not originally from our community, and the way you jumped in and just sort of embraced our high school and been present there, and our families is just kind of. When it's your turn to I think having you here full-time is gonna make a huge impact.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And really securing, we've always wanted more mentors in our schools, and I think this program will establish that pattern that we can perhaps tap into mentoring in other programs. And I think your guidance for those mentors and giving them like a purpose and something to do when they're meeting with the kids, all of that is gonna make a huge impact beyond even your programs. I
Yes.
just would like the person to
Ms.
you.
Hansford, I will add that I was a mentor with Take Stock in Children. It was 2012, so it's been
Okay.
a 10-year. I was looking at my last records, the
Really?
last students I had, and I was thrilled to hear that you were going to bring this back because the drop-off was just huge. And
Yes.
what this offers is just volumes for our community, and it goes hand in hand with what our district is doing right now. So it's-
Yes. Yes. So we're more than happy to be back. And I will say our scholarships are typically based on donations from community and civic organizations. But in order to get this off the ground, Goodwill Industries has stepped in and paid for all these scholarships. So we couldn't be here today without their support because we needed to buy those kids scholarships. We don't bring the students in unless we have a mentor and a scholarship already purchased for each one. So we've been very fortunate also to have Goodwill purchase those for us until we can get off the ground and running with donations. So thank you all for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a presentation by Jen Azula for instructional materials.
While we're here, it's good to all be sitting back up here again, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of close, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got Jane down there where when I aggravate her, she can't hit me.
I requested that.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm so excited to be here joining you all today to share with you about our instructional materials plan for mathematics for this year. But before I share with you any details, I first need to give a huge shout out and a giant thank you to these two people standing here with me. This is Vanessa Champion and Chris DeLuca, and they are our K-6 and our 7th through 12th grade math specialists. And we are just so pleased to have them as member of our team. Many of you know Chris is new, joining us this year, and we are so thankful for that because he is really helping us with that secondary support and helping our teachers prepare for all that is coming with new standards and new curriculum. So big thank you to both of them for all of their work that went into this effort as well. So we're going to today just introduce you to the mathematics material plan, highlight a couple of really important dates. Today is not a day for voting. It's really just a day to let you know where we are so far in the process and to mark the start of a 20-day period of feedback gathering that we're going to do from all educators and all of our community, families, etc. So we're going to start right here with instructional materials adoption. Many of you remember I was here last year presenting to you all about what was new and coming in ELA and in the area of reading. This year, we are really putting a heavy focus on mathematics. And so to prepare for this adoption, you can just imagine the amount of work and the number of not only months, but actually over a year that has gone into this process of making sure that we feel really great about the materials that we're going to propose to you today as our final selections that will be narrowed down in the coming weeks. As a reminder, this past year, we have already taken some initiative to get our K through 2 ELA up and running with new best standards and new curriculum, our 9th through 12th grade ELA with new best standards and new curriculum, and these wonderful folks have started the work of rolling out the best standards and the MTRs, mathematical thinking and reasoning standards, to all of our K2 and 7th through 12th grade math teachers. In this coming year, we will be shifting everyone in the district, K through 12, to new ELA best standards and new ELA materials, as well as new math standards and new math materials. As a reminder, with this instructional materials adoption, we are adopting the major tool of instruction. So there may still be, as always, other products, resources that we may purchase that are ancillary or supplemental, but this particular adoption is talking about those specific major tools for instruction. In looking at our timeline, it's important to note that this work did start in January of 2019, getting our district and our school-based coaches ready for what was coming with math instruction. As we continued on into 2021, we like to call this a phased approach. In phase 1, we took all of those who had been participating in the district math PD and state math PD for Florida DOE's best standards. We pulled them together and we took them to the NEFEC Instructional Materials Fair, where they were able to look at everything that was available on the adoption list from the state. During that phase 1, we were able to narrow some selections. So we took some things out of the running pretty quickly because of either misalignment or because the materials that were presented didn't fit with our other platform resources or even some of our ways of work. Starting in phase 2, this next slide shows you how we determined who would be a part of phase 2. During phase 2, we had schools nominate 1 to 2 people, depending on the size of the school and the grade levels contained within. We had them nominate folks who met the criteria that is listed before you to serve as an expert reviewer of the materials. So it ended up being 39 folks representing our district who came together and spent a lot of time in each one of the narrowed down selections that we brought back to the district. Once these folks were finished reviewing, trying out materials in the classroom, they spent about 45 days with the materials. We were able to narrow down our choices even more to only 2 products per grade band. So you're going to see those 2 products in just a minute. I won't go into deep detail with any of those products today, but in April when we come back together for board workshop and for our vote on the materials plan, that's when we'll give you all of the details and bells and whistles of the final selections. So when we look at the second timeline, the second part of the timetable that really highlights January through July of 2022, it's important to note that on the 5th, we will come together for that board workshop. Also on the 5th, after the board workshop, we will have our vote. But today actually is going to mark our announcement of our 20-day open survey period, where tomorrow morning, all teachers in the district who teach a mathematics course will have an opportunity. They're going to receive a link via email with a description of the process, of the products, and then they will have 20 days to be able to give us all of the feedback that they want to share about those products. At the same time, we will simultaneously have some things on our website for community members and parents so that they too can go to the public reviewer site, review materials, and provide us with their feedback and input. Just so that everyone is aware, when we go through this process together, we work very closely with NEFAC, the Educational Consortium here in Putnam. And if you are interested and you'd like to see what the rubric looks like, the extensive rubric that the district review team and the Phase 2 reviewers use to look at each material, that is included for you in Appendix B. But it's a pretty lengthy document, so we opted not to spend time going over that today. But if you have any questions about any of the elements there, please feel free to reach out. It's important to note that we do have some new courses that will be coming our way in the coming year from FLDOE. There are some courses you see on this list, like 3rd grade accelerated, and I'm not sure why they're not showing there, but they are showing on the actual document. So 3rd grade accelerated, 4th grade accelerated, and 6th grade accelerated math are all new courses, and we will be meeting together as a district team to talk about which courses we may implement within our district and what the timeline and criteria for those may look like. So at this time, as we're looking through materials, we are also looking at materials for those accelerated class. That's an important note to make. And when you start looking at secondary, you may look at our list and realize that there are some classes that are not represented. Some of our accelerated math at the secondary level and our advanced math at the secondary level, you're not going to see on this list. And that is because as we worked with textbook companies to look at their newly presented materials for the state adoption list, we noticed that there were lots of issues with alignment. And so our teachers who were part of the review team called that out, called it to our attention, and we have opted at this time not to include them in the official adoption process. However, I want to make sure that you're comfortable with our plans for that moving forward. After we have our conversations about district progressions moving forward with all the new courses that the state is offering, both at the elementary and secondary level, we're going to pull together those teachers of those actual courses, give them an opportunity to look at some additional materials that are not included on the state adoption list, and have them be able to have more time to provide better input around the courses that they are actually going to be teaching. So please know that while it is not here for adoption consideration, we are still absolutely considering them, their students' needs and their needs for instruction, and we will be working with them throughout the remainder of the year to make sure that they have materials that they can feel comfortable with.
Do you think the accelerated math that they're trying to come through with in the elementary particularly is because they can't seem to fill the void like a Cambridge type program would, and they're trying to find ways to fill the option of kids who are way ahead of the other kids in their rooms?
So we have heard a lot from state math leaders in those regards. We've heard lots of reasons why, and also had the great opportunity to hear lots of questions about, well, if we are to pursue this, what would this look like for our kids? So we have a lot of work to do on our end around those progressions and making sure that if we take those courses on, that we have a very firm entrance into those courses and the ability to get in an off-ramp if the students should so need that. So we have a lot of conversations still to have on our team, but I promise as we come back to some of that, we'll bring that back before you so that you can see.
I'm sure you'll work hard on that. Yeah.
Yes, there's definitely a lot to consider, and there are new classes at the high school level as well that we have never had before, and so we are navigating all of those waters very carefully and slowly to make sure we make the right decision for kids and teachers. So as we look forward to the selection process, I want to just show you who our final programs are that we're going to ask teachers and community members and parents and you all to give input on. At the elementary level, it is a company called Cengage Big Ideas, and the name of that series is Best Mathematics. It's important to note when thinking about this particular company that they are a math house only, meaning that they do not focus on any other subject areas. They don't create and provide curriculum for any other areas, which has allowed them to really focus deeply on our mathematics standards for Florida. So that's one of our possibilities at the elementary level. And the other one is actually McGraw-Hill. Florida Reveal Math is the name of that particular resource, and you'll see we have the public links listed here. If it required a username and password, we provided that. If you don't see it listed, it's because that site does not require it in order for the public to be able to access the materials and take a great look around. At the high school level, you'll notice that it is also McGraw-Hill Florida Reveal Math. They were one of the top rated programs from the teams that have come together so far. And we are looking at these materials just for grade 7 math through geometry honors, again, because we have another plan for the more advanced math later. The second choice at the high school or secondary level is Math Nation, and their materials have previously been known throughout the district and lots of districts around the state as Algebra Nation, Math Nation, but it's really important for us to note as we go into this process that that program has been completely revamped. In fact, as we sat with their wonderful experts and their research team, they actually hearkened back to some of our previous teachers in Putnam as feedback providers to shift their program forward. So we were pretty impressed with the level of thought that went into there, and also that they could call out specific math teachers in our district who really helped them think through some of the challenges that folks were facing and what our particular kids need. So those are the two for elementary. Those are the two for math. You're going to see McGraw-Hill on both of those lists, no matter the grade level, because they were just a top contender based on our folks' feedback. So after today, it's important to note that on the Department of Teaching and Learning website, that's where you will be able to find the instructional materials plan. That's where community members, families, students who want to go provide feedback, that's where they will find their survey link. I want to be very clear and say that the surveys do look different. The public-facing survey does not have as many elements and as many pieces as the educator survey. We did give the educators a shortened version of the NEFAC rubric in order to give their feedback, but both will go out tomorrow, and they will mark our 20-day window opening, which will be open through March 7th for any and everybody to be able to provide us with their input and feedback on the resources. Once that window closes, we'll take the survey down from our website. We'll be back with you on April 5th and hopefully be able to share with you that we had an overwhelming amount of support for one or the other of each of these programs for each of the grade bands we talked about.
Well, the public, and a lot of it is due to political talking heads all across America on television and stuff. They don't really understand that there is a lot that goes into a selection of instructional materials, and it's not just some edict that comes down, and you guys work and do everything you can to find the best option to recommend to the board, and we appreciate everything you do. Wonderful.
Thank you so much for saying that. And again, thank you to these incredible folks and to our teachers. Like I said, we had 39 people join this work during a time when it was a challenge to add one more thing to folks' plate. So I cannot thank our teachers, our school leaders, our district coaches, and our school-based coaches enough. They make all of this possible, and so I just appreciate them so much. Thank you all as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then our last presentation is on positive behavioral interventions and
Again,
supports.
Michael's not here.
Mr. Randy Hedstrom will be
But they
doing
gave
that.
you enough notice this time, didn't
Yeah, I had no notice before, so
All
anyway.
right, all right.
Thank you, Jane, for saying to us, move it to the next time. I had a 35-page PowerPoint presentation that I was gonna put on here, but it was so big, the computer wouldn't download it. So I'm gonna give you the shorter
Oh, you're
version.
serious?
No, I was just kidding. You know good and well I'm not gonna do that.
I'm glad it didn't download.
So for the 2021 school year, 4 schools in Putnam County School District were awarded a model school and received the Positive Behavior Support Resilient Award. To earn this award, the schools completed training, met all criteria required by the Positive Behavior Intervention and Support program, which includes developing student skills, making changes to school's environment, acknowledging appropriate student behavior, and using data to identify supports for its students and the student body. This is the most schools, model schools in Putnam County and Putnam County's district school history since it started. 2012, 2017, no schools were awarded. 2017-18, James A. Long was awarded. 2018-19, Melrose was awarded. 2019-2020, Melrose was awarded. This past year, 2021, Melrose, James A. Long, Kelly Smith, and Brownie Pillars received the reward, which is a plaque and a large band. So congratulations to those hall workers.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Hedstrom.
Short and sweet.
Now we'll move to the public comment. Do we have any? Okay, we have no public comment. We have no public hearing. Moving to the consent agenda. Ms. Gilliard?
Nothing to pull, ma'am.
Nothing to pull.
No, ma'am.
Mr. McGinnis?
All is well.
I had nothing to pull.
Mr. Buckles?
I have nothing to pull.
Ms. Crawford?
Nothing.
And I also have nothing to pull.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion to accept the consent agenda by Mr. Bud McGinnis, a second by Ms. Sandra Gilliard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. We will now go out of regular session and into emergency session. We have 2 items, the youth resource contract and the resolution for Mr. Kerry Farrell.
We can make sure we.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the resource contract as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. David Buckles to accept the youth resource contract and a second by Ms. Jane Crawford. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Now the resolution for Mr. Kerry Farrell.
Well, before I make a motion to accept it, we've got 2 different spellings. Hopefully, the one on the resolution is right because it's spelled differently on our agenda than it is.
Actually, in the body is spelled that way too.
Oh, okay, in the body. And so is it F-A-R-R-E-L-L or F-E?
E.
I thought it was E.
So the title is where the top one is.
So we just changed that, but we can go ahead and vote on it, can't we, with that?
Sure.
I make a motion that we accept the proposal, accept the, what is it called? Resolution for Mr. Kerry Farrell with the spelling correction.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Jane Crawford and a second by Ms. Sandra Gilliard to accept the resolution for Mr. Kerry Farrell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 5-0. We have no unfinished business, and we have 1 item, oh, wait a minute. We're out of emergency, back into regular session. We have no unfinished business. We have 1 item under new business, and it's the consensus to advertise deletion of policy 5895, student employment.
Madam Chair.
Approved that, didn't we?
Did we already approve it?
We approve that?
No, I'm
No.
just kidding.
I make a motion that we approve the consensus to advertise deletion of policy 5895, student employment.
Do we
Or do we have to
just
do
say
a roll call?
advertise?
This is recommended by the superintendent, is that correct? I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Jane Crawford and a second by Mr. David Buckles to advertise the deletion of policy 5895, student employment. All those in,
This should be a roll call.
roll call.
Yeah. District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, now we move to the reports by the board members. Ms. Jane Crawford will begin.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to congratulate those who are retiring. I know it's a great feeling. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I soon will. I also would like to give a shout out to our youth resource officers in all of our schools. They are such positive role models for our students, and they form relationships with them that even after they graduate, they still have that bond, and I just think they do so much for our kids. The next thing I wanted to bring up is I was startled to see the number of teacher vacancies in Florida. At last count, it was 4,489. That's a huge amount of teachers that are still needed in Florida. And the critical areas of shortage are English, reading. Used to, there was an overabundance of English teachers, but there's shortage with English reading, ESE, general science, physical science, math, and ESOL. Thousands of these classes are being taught by teachers who are not certified in that particular field. And our students deserve better, but if they're not there, they're not there. What are we going to do? $1,000 bonuses here and there are not enough to retain teachers who are subjected to, in some places, micromanagement from the state and increasing demands from parents to control what and how subjects are being taught. We've got to do better, and I know that Putnam County has vacancies, but our HR and all of our staff work so hard. Our teacher retention, our teacher training program and teacher retention program, to me, one of the best that I've ever seen in the state of Florida, and I know that they will continue doing that, but it's awfully frightening. I don't think as many kids are going into teaching as have in the past, and hopefully something can be done about that.
Madam Chair, if I can address that, actually, Ms. Whitehurst and Ms. Carroll attended a training this past week or the week before on teacher retention, and really looking at the whole question that you were talking about. So we definitely are on that, and
Good.
And Ms.
I know they
Whitehurst
are.
has some recommendations for us.
I know she's on top of her game.
Yes, she is. Yes,
But
she
you're
is.
doing it too with growing our parapros to teachers.
Yeah, we gotta
I mean,
grow
so
more.
we're doing,
Yeah.
we're headed in the right direction.
Well, and
just
actually,
need
right now,
a minute.
we've pretty much, I think, have exhausted all of our parapros that have an AA.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going down further and
To try to get them an
trying
AA.
to get, paras to get their AA so we can put them in the paras pros.
And didn't we talk about one time that we were working with St. John's River State College on something, as support for
Yeah,
that?
and I'll yield to Tanya on that, but we're also working with St. Leo and working on that, trying to, when a student leaves high school, trying to really make that where they can get their bachelor's in a short amount of time in teaching. So she's working on that. At some point in time, we may have her come and present some information to you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Crawford. Mr. McGinnis?
Yes. Congratulations again to Mr. Overturf and the Teacher of the Year recipients. And I can't wait to see the instructional material workshop. That's going to be exciting. Thank you, Mrs. Zula, for that. One thing I did have been doing is with the Take Stock in Children, been mentoring weekly, and got invited to do a tour at St. John's River State College, and it was an excellent tour for those students that came from Crescent City and Interlochen, the whole county, and it was informative to me. I've been there, gosh, 47 years ago, so walking around that campus, I'm just like, they didn't have all this when I was there.
They filled in our pond, bud.
And but anyway, while I was there, I got a piece of Wandering Jew, and I rooted it, so I'm good with that. Excuse me.
Filled in your pond.
Yeah,
That's-
and I served as a judge at the Spelling Bee, Putnam County, and the county Spelling Bee. That was exciting, and I want to give a shout out to our district staff, teachers, and all the student staff. Right now, it's just amazing to me how everybody keeps it together. Our focus, we are on the numbers, and I know that about the school grades and such, but the big component that we don't talk about is the mental health of our kids.
Correct.
And right now, I just, I hope we have more to offer for the gaps that I know that we are not seeing right away right now, but families are struggling, and we know our children are struggling.
Yes.
So right now, if we do something, if we have the available resources, it's just imperative to me that we jump on that. And Take Stock in Children is meeting part of that need right now. And I encourage everybody to be a mentor. It doesn't take any time. You can do it. I'm just got asked to be a mentor for a student that's on the virtual, so I won't see him just through the Zoom. So they can accommodate you, and it is rewarding. I also had the opportunity to answer a WFT reporter. I was kind of hesitant to doing it, but when I got the
I said no, thank you.
message from Susan, I was like, well, maybe that was a sign that I should be answering it. So I called her to make sure I was not reading a text wrong. And it was interesting because he just wanted to know about, as a board member, how our position, my position was on the House Bill 1467, which includes term limits and pay and such. And so that's my second interview. The last interview I had on WFT was on TV with Tim Tebow and the Eye Black.
Oh,
That's it.
it's been a while.
Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. Mr. Buckles?
That was pretty good to follow there. But I am going to follow up with what something Bud said. It mentioned Take Stock in Children and some of the options that are available. Mr. Hedstrom's not in here right now, but he and I spoke for a while this morning or earlier today before the meeting about discipline and options and things that we've been through over the years and things that the district are still looking at trying to do. And, you know, we've had some crazy stuff happen in the community lately, and sometimes there's just nothing that you can really do other than make the problems go away. I mean, in other words, sometimes you have to expel children. And we do some of that. We've tried to, you know, our expulsion committee and our people work so hard to find options to try to keep kids from being removed from our public schools. But, you know, when things bleed over in the community and it becomes a problem to where it just makes things out of control in the school, there's times that you don't have any other option, really. And now listen to Bud talk about the mental health option. And I know just in my conversation with Mr. Hedstrom that the district is trying to find options so you don't have to just say, hey, you know, you're out of here. But you know, when you've got people being shot over the weekend in the community and it bleeds over into things at school and where you got families, which it always has for as long as I can remember. So if it happens in the community, it's gonna happen in the school. We are a mirror of society, and it's just the way it is. And, I do know that the superintendent will, and his committee will be probably making some tough decisions in the future, and I, for one, as a board member, firmly support a decision you need to make as it comes. The recommendation of these principles is very serious and not taken with light at all. So I wanted to mention that. And then following off of that, this is something that I have not had the opportunity to mention to the board members, but I have talked at length with Mr. Taylor and with the superintendent and about school properties that adjoin state road right-of-ways and highway right-of-ways, and we've kind of, sat on it for a while. I'm leaving here in a little bit and going to a Palaca Junior Senior High softball scrimmage, and the price of admission to get in is a case of drinks, which they will later sell in the concession stand as a way to make money. And the reason I'm going into this is not only that school, but schools all across at Palaca High, schools all across the state of Florida and America get banners put on fences and on different parts of the school property as ways to not only congratulate the kids and help fund some of their programs, but in a manner that recognizes local businesses too. And so that's been common since I was a kid, and evidently, well, not evidently, but in the last few months, a local business was stricken with, I guess, a Department of Transportation person who complained or responding to a complaint that they had a sign up that did not mention or did not meet state sign certification guidelines, which is very, takes Lex, his mind can work through that stuff, and it's a lot more difficult than most of us would think. And there's a lot of things that vary into this. I mean, do you want to challenge? Anyway, this person said, well, what about Palaca High down the road? Well, that's not that's not an uncommon answer. I mean, they wouldn't have intentionally meant to hurt Palaca High. So, but it resulted in a loss of revenue for the school softball team for around $15,000. Wow. Now, the reason I'm hesitant to talk a whole lot more, because then you'll get people looking for more signs all over the state of Florida. But I have asked, in back into with Rick and with Lex, who have, my God, so much more to do than we can imagine, to look at the possibility of legally putting up billboards that meet state specification on school board property to sell advertising to support school activities. Whether we can do that or not, it takes not only a legal education, but you've got to know all about the municipalities of a city and the county and different areas. But well, let me finish it, and then we'll go ahead and ask the question.
Well, David, was it where they were, or what they were? Because couldn't we move them to the inner fence?
They're already in the inner fence. They've already been moved, and that was taken care of because it was like I want to say a $200 a day fine or something like that if you didn't move them.
So
could have been less.
Still sell the banners to the businesses?
Well, they can, but it can't. It doesn't. You can't. I'm still, and it would take. I think Lex is going to continue to work on this. He's trying to gather some verbiage together that, if he gets through the other important stuff, that he could get to maybe Bobby Payne to try to introduce for us, because we have been in touch with DOT, and they can't just arbitrarily just say, we're going,
well, Palatka can.
yeah, but you're not gonna find any school district in the state of Florida that doesn't have a banner that exposes itself to a county or state road. So
Right.
it's, and I'm not trying to start a storm here, but I still think there's opportunities for the school district to make money. I mean, you're talking maybe possibly $1,000 a month on just a sign, maybe just one side if you had a lit billboard or something. But that's something Lex will be working on through the spring, and we're not going to be able to do something about that overnight. It'll take, I'm sure, working through the legislature, but it's something I think you guys need to be aware of, that it's hard enough. I mean, I look at Holly and I think of all the years you did quail and all the cookouts and everything in Crescent City, and everybody else to try to make ends meet, so for the kids to be able to take good trips and do good things and have the best equipment, and so it's not easy, but it's hard. It gets harder when you try to do something good, and the kids don't understand. I mean, they're not going to understand how it works, but I do appreciate the superintendent and Lex working with me on this, but I thought it's time to let you guys know in case you get hit up with it by some other folks, because if it starts rolling, I mean, the whole state of Florida could lose millions of dollars in revenue to the public schools. So I hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, I'm headed to pick up some cold drinks and go to put on my warm hoodie and sit out there and watch a softball game. You guys,
After you hear the rest of us, though, right?
after I
Okay.
hear
All right.
you're the last one, but
We gotta get
Holly
Holly,
goes.
we gotta
That's
get
right.
Lex,
Well,
we gotta get.
Lex won't say much, but he's an attorney. Wait, he's paid by the hour, so he'll probably go on.
Thank you, Mr.
That's my
Buckles.
I'll
fault.
let it go.
I started that.
Go
I should have
ahead.
kept my mouth closed.
Go ahead,
Just
sir.
real quick, want to congratulate our retirees, Miss Darlene Sheeks, Judy C. West, and Deborah Elliott, and thank them for their service to the students of Putnam County Schools. Just want to say that our sorority met on yesterday, our scholarship committee, and it is that time of year again, and I chose this platform because our counselors may be watching or listening or go back through it, and we need to encourage our seniors in order for us to do the things that we want to do as a district. And as we were meeting yesterday, I thought of Mr. Cerency's, his leadership, but our portrait of a graduate. And we want them to go beyond just walking across the stage. So we want to encourage them to get out there and apply for those scholarships. They're going to be online, most of them, but we want our students to apply for every scholarship that is out there so that they can further their education. Want to congratulate our employees of the year, and I want to mention that it was the first time ever seeing it done that way. It was just awesome to hear the principals talk about their people. They knew them, and I got a chance to talk with Mrs. Drew, and she was telling me how nervous she was at first and how many takes she had to do, but then when she focused on the people, those employees and what they bring to that school every day, she said it made it a whole lot easier. And so to you, Mrs. Whitehurst, and your team, kudos. I just couldn't wait to hear the next voice and to see all the various shots of these people doing what they do for us every day for our children. That is it. No, it isn't. One final thing. One of our former teachers, she did retire. At one time, she was recognized as the Teacher of the Year nominee for her school from Middleton Burney. It is Mrs. Sonia Moody. Since her retirement, God has given her a new challenge, and she has been speaking with Mrs. Whitehurst, and it's called MG3, Morning Glory. And it's just on one day out of the week. That's a Monday morning. And it's non-denominational, wherein employees of the Putnam County School District. She said charity begins at home and then spreads abroad. She want to start she has started in Putnam County, and it only lasts from 6:40 to 7 o'clock, and it's just inspirational talking and a prayer for all the employees, any employee. And there is a dial-in number, and I was going to ask Dr. Sarency if you would approve it. I mean, look at it and see if you approve of it. I did listen in this past Monday, and it was nothing that was, it was just to be up that early and just to listen to something soothing. And some of our administrators did sign on because it tells you, announce yourself, and some of them would say their names. And I just thought it was a great way to start your school week off. So it's only one day a week, that's Monday morning from 6:40 to 7 o'clock. And once you've heard what you need to hear, you can hang up. But it's just beautiful, non-denominational, and it's just great. And so if you'll pass that to the superintendent, and thank you. I told her I would do that. She would have been here herself. Yes, I said please.
I was just making sure.
No.
I'm just aggravating you.
Oh, okay.
Don't hit me.
And she would have been here, but she had to take her mother to a doctor's appointment.
Thank you, Ms. Gilliard. I just have a few things. Congratulations to all of our Teachers of the Year and our support associates and all our Employees of the Year. And I agree, the video made it so much more personal.
Yeah,
And you didn't want at the end, you could just hear good things about people all the time. So thank you, Ms. Whitehurst, and your whole department, everything. Thank you. I'd also like to congratulate Mr. Jeff Lease, the soccer coach at Crescent City. They didn't win the district, but they did defeat Pearson for the first time in 9 matches. So that's that's a step, right? And I also got to judge the spelling bee, and it really is sort of a highlight of the year. Ms. Crawford did an excellent job being our head judge, and congratulations to Caitlin Wilson. She was our winner, and good luck at the state spelling bee. Last Thursday, I went to the CTE celebration of their business partners. We have some really, really, really smart, talented young people in our schools, and that just their presentations, the way that they talked about their programs. I talked to teachers, I talked to students. It was very uplifting, and it was just amazing. So, people can say what they want to about Putnam County, but I think it's absolutely amazing. And all they needed to do, invite them in and walk them around those kids, and they'd say, Putnam County's the place to be. So with that, I'll send it to our board attorney, Mr. Taylor.
Okay. I do want to give an update on the signs, since we brought it up. I think we've negotiated that we're not going to pay any fines for them. I think we're going to have to permit the billboards that we have that are existing. I don't think that's going to be a large expense, and I expect that to come through. And we are looking at changing some of, or proposing changes for the legislature to look at. I'm not sure they interpreted the statutes, because there is already a little bit of a carve out for schools. So either they've interpreted them differently than they have in the past, and that's causing the issue, or we may need to change the legislation and make sure that it's clear that there's a carve out and that schools can manage the signs that are on their property, and maybe the very large ones that are billboards should still be regulated. But all the smaller signs that we expect, I'd like to see that we can get that back, and we're going to try to get that proposal in front of people. But to your point, if the language on the sign says that these businesses support the schools, that helps, and if that's there, it may eliminate it completely, the difference. So there's a little bit of push and pull that may be able to go there.
He's got a lot of different angles he has to look at this thing.
Yeah. And then the other thing that the schools in general need to look at, and that I think legally we can do. There's a lot of, at each site, there's several different checks you have to do before you can do it. But if the schools wanted to, putting billboards up on the schools, if there's room and it's appropriate, that can pass. It's a different test for every site. You've got different, if it's in the city, you've got to have the city's approval too. So that is potentially something that could be done, and something that if a school or a site's interested in doing it, and there's a will of the board to do it, then we can look into that and start checking through it and moving forward with that. So I'm not going to say that every site can have it or every school can have it, but where it's appropriate, we can definitely ask, request, and see what we can do. And I think there's a good chance that we'll be able to get them through. Normally I don't say much, but I actually have something to say this week. I get to work with truancy, and with truancy, at least the civil portion of truancy, we're trying to educate families to make sure that they get their kids to school. For younger kids, it's usually a problem with the parents. Sometimes with older kids that are in the secondary school system, it may be a problem where the child isn't going to school after the parent tries to get them off. But either way, the truancy program is a wonderful program that tries to instill a love of learning into these kids and their parents, and make sure that the children appear every day. And for the past 3 or 4 years or more that I've been working on it, I've been working with Danny Hood, who was here, who retired a couple of years ago, but also Christy Lowe. And Christy Lowe is retiring this month.
Oh, she is?
She is. I wanted to make sure that the board knew that. She is a wonderful person, a wonderful resource that we've had. Her connections with the police department have been wonderful and helpful. And I'm happy to report that Gator DeLoach has worked with the district, and we're going to get some replacement and some help with him. So I look forward to working with them. But I do want to say thank you to Christy Lowe. She's put an enormous service to the district and to the students and families that live here. So thank you very much for all your service, Christy.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And now, Dr. Sarncy.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Taylor. He's done a fabulous job. Of course, it helps because he's right across the street now anytime we need him. But he is, anytime we have an issue, he's on it, and you do a valuable service for us. So thank you. Board, do look at the meeting schedule that Susan gave you. We are making a few changes due to some schedule conflicts. And you have a separate piece of paper there, I think, that tells you the schedule. But she's highlighted that we are canceling the March 22nd meeting, and we're going to ask you to vote on this in just a minute. So the March 22nd meeting will be canceled. We are adding the April 5th meeting, and all these are at 3:30. And then we are canceling the May 3rd meeting. So if you'll make a note of that on your calendar, and then, Madam Chair, I believe we need to.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. David Buckles to accept the revised Putnam County School Board meeting schedule for 21-22, and a second by Ms. Sandy Gilliard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. A couple other items I want to mention. First of all, I want to echo the comments about our CTE business gala. That was fabulous, and I was blown away by our students and the work they're doing, and their presence and able to present themselves. And I want to thank all the people. Jonathan Hinkie was real involved in putting all that together, and all the different staffs that worked on that. But I'm just very proud that that was one event for CTE month, which is in February. And Renee's in the back, and we've had a number of people recognized and a number of programs recognized on our social media and otherwise for CTE. And we are really ramping up our career and technical education programs here. And as you know, we do have in the legislature, we do have a bill that's been submitted by Representative Payne for the beginning of a new business building construction technologies academy. And the bill is still moving through the legislature. We're being in contact with our lobbyists on that. So we should be hearing something here in not too long about the progress of that bill, but that's, provided that's passed, we're gonna begin that program at Interlochen Junior Senior High School. So that's just one of the, I think the third program we've had since I've been in that's been providing and gets funded through the legislature as a startup. So we are really ramping up our opportunities for our kids. This month, as you know, is Black History Month, and we've reached out to the schools, Ashley has, and asked them to send us any things they're doing at the school level. However, we are gonna have a culminating event on February 28th, and we're not really, it's not gonna be a wide open, invite the public type event. It's gonna be something we are gonna live stream for whoever wants to watch it, but we're also gonna have students watching this too. And essentially, we're gonna have a panel of many of our local citizens, African-American citizens, and myself and Justin Campbell, I believe, are gonna be asking them some questions. If you'd like to send us some questions, maybe some things about the school, the community, anything else, maybe we can bring this up, but some things that we want our students to really understand and appreciate about the Black history here in Putnam County. So first time event, I think it's gonna be really interesting.
All of you will be invited.
Yes,
You guys flyers,
absolutely. It'll be at the Jim Pignato Theater on the 28th. Today we had our, third or fourth student advisory meetings. Superintendent student advisory meeting. Today was a scheduled virtual meeting. But I tell you, every time I have this meeting, I just feel so good about our kids, because our kids tell it like it is, and they just give us so much valuable information. Actually, I'm going to share a lot of that information tomorrow with our principals meeting. So I think there's some real, our students really want and need a voice, and we really do listen to them, because you know, these are our leaders for tomorrow. So we want to make sure we're hearing what they have to say today. Also, finally, we want to just recognize our guidance counselors. Last week was Guidance Counselor Appreciation Week, and they've done so much. They have so much on their plate. We're constantly asking them to do more, but you know, they are the ones that are helping our kids to deal with a lot of the social emotional issues, helping our kids with scheduling, scholarships, you name it. Guidance counselors have a lot to do and are a big part of what we do in our district.
Rick, if you could, I'd just like to add real quick while Tanya's here. When I years ago used to do, and we were talking about this earlier, how important the student superintendent relationship, what you hear and what you learn is not what all you may think it is until you hear it. But one of my first meeting with some elementary students at Interlochen, I had one of Tanya's wonderful daughters. And the first question I was asked was, why did I take prayer out of public schools? We've laughed about this over the years, and I nicknamed her daughter Billy Graham after that, but I tried to give her a little history on. But I mean, those are questions that kids really have. It just tells you that you pick up perspectives that you wouldn't pick up otherwise. So I applaud you for continuing to work on doing that. That's great to pick that up and let them know they have somebody they can call.
But just be ready. If you ask them a question, you're going to get an
You're
answer.
gonna get it.
It may not be the one you want, but you're going to get an answer.
They may not like the cafeteria food. Who knows?
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Are we gonna vote? You said you were gonna ask us to vote?
We already did that.
We did?
did.
We did. Well, you did.
We don't know.
We voted on, you were here.
Dr. Cernsey, anybody have anything else to add? This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.